This is Terry Castle, pastor of North Houston Church. Wanted to let you know that it's so great to have you be a part of this message today. You're going to be blessed. As a matter of fact, bless somebody else. Like and share. Let's go into the message.
In Joshua chapter 24 and verse 14 and 15, he says, choose you this day. Everybody say, choose you this day. Sisters, would you allow me to speak to men today? Because if there is anything missing in homes, in society, in children's lives, it is fathers. Sisters, you know I love you, but today on Father's Day, I need to talk to men. And so, if you would help me, the brothers may say it, I'm not depending on them right now because I'm talking to them. But sisters, would you repeat this after me real loud, real loud? Say intentional fatherhood. I'm like Minister Carrington. Y'all need to turn that up the second time. Every sister say it out loud. Say intentional fatherhood. Joshua 24 verse 14 says this. Now therefore fear the Lord. Serve him in sincerity and in truth. And put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river. That's the Euphrates River, he says. And in Egypt, he says, serve the Lord. And if it seems evil, that's a strong word. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. If you would do this for me, say it again with a little bit more intention. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. If you would take your seats in the presence of the Lord. Intentional fatherhood. I think I called the roll out, the list out for enough of you to say he didn't miss anybody. Brother Curtis, if it is a natural, is it a step, is it an in-law, is it a figure, is it the fathers to be, if it's grandfathers, great-grandfathers, spiritual fathers, nobody is exempt. As a matter of fact, whether you know it or not, there are people looking at you, especially children, looking at you, and they unconsciously see you as a father figure. So how you walk, how you talk, how you act, how you treat your spouse, how you treat your children, somebody's watching you. I think it was Fred Hammond who has on one of his records, my father was and is. You'd have to go and listen to it if you really want to catch it. But whether you know it or not, you can be, let me see, in my mind, you can be a daddy and not a father. Because a whole lot of folk bring them in, do what it takes, but they don't lead them and guide them, raise them. Everybody say intentional father. Intentional father, when I read this, let me just throw out some. An intentional father worships God. So if you want to be intentional, you need to be a father that worships God. An intentional father leads his family. If you want to be an intentional father, you got to lead your family. An intentional father makes choices, even hard choices, If you want to be an intentional father, you got to make some choices. It's one thing to bring them in. It's another thing to be a father. When I read that, I saw several things there because when I looked at fathers, I saw in these particular verses of Joshua that it dealt with not only, I saw spiritual leadership, I saw personal choices, I saw family legacy, I saw all of those things wrapped up because fathers' spiritual direction depends on, or I'm sorry, the family's spiritual direction depends on the father's intentional fatherhood. All right, let me just put it one way. If you as a father, sisters, you need to get this, because if you're looking at somebody, you need to not only see him as a spouse, but you need to know if this is going to be a good father. All right. If he cursing you, if he don't know how to hold his peace with you, he ain't gonna know how to hold his peace with your children. If he don't know, oh wow, that's all I needed. This Curtis got my back all the time. If he don't understand that you are his spouse and not his punching bag, then he won't understand they are his children and not his punching bag. Now, let me just set the tone before I mess up here. I do not condone violence. I may participate, but I do not condone it. There's somebody say, Pastor, what you mean? Don't touch my children. Don't mess with my wife. I'll go further with my granddaughter, with my siblings. I will have to ask for Pastor. Because some people don't understand where it needs to be directed. The Bible says, ooh, why am I going here? The Bible says the wife is to be your helpmeet, not your punching bag. Now, you can do that physically, verbally, financially, however, but anyway, let me go back to this. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. I saw several things in Joshua chapter 24, verse 14 and 15. I just want to highlight a couple of them, a few of them for you today, because we are in a society that they have made absence the need of real fathers. Sisters, I told you I love you. Sister, you may be a single parent. You will never be a father. But Pastor, I had to step in and do the role. Doing the role don't make you a father. The role, I understand, is a provider. He may not provide it, you had to step in, but that don't mean you're a father. Let me go here. Everybody say, go on, preacher. Because society says if you don't have the man in the house for whatever reason, then you're okay. Everything is fine. Let me let you in on something. You may be surviving. You may be all good, but that was not God's intention. He expected the man to be there as a father. As a matter of fact, if I had time, I would remind you, even Christ said in the book of Matthew, the Gospels, he would declare, even when you pray, you are to say, our, not mother. I know some of them sisters say, don't make me. But understand that the Father has something that God intentionally knew that there was needed in the world. You can't go by the orange-haired guy. Because I was about to say he don't even know if all them children his. And if his example is the example of a father, we are all right. But I can't go by that. I can't go by, I saw somebody the other day, they said, no, I don't need a man to do this. I got my partner. And the partner had a masculine look on her. I said, you can put on man breeches. You can get a man haircut. You can wear a man clothes. You can give yourself a man's name. But that don't make you, so you can't be a father. All right, everybody, all right. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. Saw something here. The first thing that I saw there was a choice, a personal choice to be a father. Look there in verse 15. He says, choose this day. Everybody say it's a choice. Say it like you mean to say it's a choice. He says, choose this day. If I had time to go through all of it, but what I did was in just two verses, I saw over at least seven times the word serve was there. 2 verses, 7 times. You think he's trying to make a point? I mean, if I said it within 2 sentences 7 times, he says, choose you this day. Everybody say it's a choice. Say it like you mean to say it's a choice. So you have to make a conscious decision. You have to say to yourself, I'm going to do what somebody else may not choose to do. I remember it wasn't these exact words, but one of my daughters made a statement based on what she saw in another household. Sister Tiffany, she saw this going on in another household. I didn't mind. I look at TV all the time. Whole lot of stuff going on in folk houses. Some of it is entertainment. Some of it is just buffoonery. Some of it is right. Some of it is wrong. I didn't mind her saying that. What I had a challenge with was she actually thought her father was going to base our lives on what somebody else does, and she don't even live there. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. You don't know what they doing in those houses. So I saw that there has to be a choice. Everybody say a choice. He says, choose this day. I make a choice. I make a deliberate choice not to run my house like husbands of LA. I make a choice not to run my house like basketball wives' husbands. Or the house of Pomona, LA, all of them. I make a choice not to run. All right, I'll go further. There was at a time a reality TV show that says Preachers of LA. I make a choice not to run the house that God has given me responsibility over, not like them. Because this is going to hurt somebody's feelings, because you don't know what they do. You only saw what they wanted you to see on TV. And most of y'all were surprised when you saw that. Oh my God. And then they had the audacity to say reality TV. My reality is based on the Word of God. Because whatever they do, all right, everybody say intentional fatherhood. There has to be an intentional. Secondly, I saw in the same thing there in personal choices of the father, I saw there needs to be a prioritizing of God. All right, thank you. I hear you, brother. There needs to be a priority. All right, I'm going to get to this later, but let me let you in on something. You can put them in a house. You can make sure they have food. You can help them go through life as college students and raise them as adults. But if you don't prioritize God, they got all of that on their way to hell. Pastor, that sounds harsh. I want it to. Because a real father wants their children to know what's right and not just what's going on. Everybody wants to have money. Everybody wants to have security. And everybody may say they are Christians, at least some. But that don't mean everybody has made the choice to make Jesus their Lord. I saw there, he says, choose you this day. Everybody say, choose today. Fathers, if you really want to be intentional as a father, you need to choose today. I'm choosing today. But Pastor, my children are grown and they are gone. But they ought to be able to say, but I saw a change in my daddy. I had the privilege. Sister Briscoe. I had the privilege of. I didn't have a father in my house. He was absent, but I had the privilege of. I'm going to use the word surrogate because. My mother intentionally sent me over to Reverend Amos Edwards. Didn't understand then. I was a little fearful then, as a matter of fact. I'm saying, why this the only man that she allowed me to go and spend the night? Everybody's saying intentional fatherhood. I had Brother Whitfield I grew up in Kelly Court in Fifth Ward, and Brother Whitfield lived down the street. My mother would take care of it. They went to the same church that we did. My mother would take care of his wife as much as she could. She was that type of caregiver. Mother Whitfield was in a wheelchair. Her legs had been amputated. She was blind, and I saw in Brother Whitfield that even in those areas, you are still supposed to be responsible as a man. I don't know. My elder brother, Elder Ricky Castle, my brother Danny Castle, they may know of. I didn't know if Brother and Sister Whitfield had children, but I saw the role model of a man. My Uncle Amos Edwards, I saw the role model of a man. Let me give you one more because I didn't have a man in the house. I took a lot of what Johnny Jones taught me as a father. I took a lot from him. And so she had the audacity to say this morning that something about me, I got this thing about keeping the cars clean. She's right. I got it from your daddy. Because my father-in-law washed his cars. He made sure not only were they maintained, but they were clean cars. He even went so far, I hadn't did this all the time. He went so far as he would even wash his daughter's car. Sean took it over there intentionally, I think, to make sure. I tried that one day. My father, the bucket over there. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. So you gotta make a choice. And what I did not have in the house, I had as examples of others that I believe God had placed in my life. Well, let me let y'all in on something again. Even if you are not a biological father, somebody's watching you. You may not think it, but how you treat. All right, let me go on from that. So you got to have a personal life that says, God, you're first. Secondly, you need to have some degree. That's the lowest I could get to. Some degree of integrity. Not always, no, if he said it, he meant it. If he gonna cuss you out, he gonna, no. You need to have some integrity to the degree that they know, come hell or high water, I'm gonna do what is right in the sight of God and of man. All right, there's another one. This is gonna hurt somebody's feelings, but you got my back. You need to lead by example. If you don't want a lying, cheating, drunkard, foul mouth, no respect of women, if you don't want that for your child, then don't be that for yourself. Y'all saying, Pastor, are you whipping folk today? Yes. Because if I don't do it, then the devil will make you think you all right. All right, let me go on. Everybody say lead by example. And so what I saw here in the book of Joshua chapter 24, Joshua actually started with himself. So if you're going to make a choice to be a father, you need to start with me. Everybody say start with me. Yeah, brothers, start with yourself. If you're going to make that choice, you got to start with you. Notice this, and this got my attention because Joshua didn't say, as for my house and me. Somebody, y'all heard? Joshua didn't say as for my house and me. He said, no. Let me be real clear. As for me and my house. If you're going to start with anything, you need to start with me. So don't send them to church. Take them to church. Don't give them an option. No, everybody in this house going to church, you still at home. No. Everybody in this house going to church, and you better be dressed by the time I get ready. Because if I have to come back and get you, you're going to change. Everybody say, start with me. Notice the sequence there. He says, as for me and my house. So he puts himself on notice as well as others. Brother Gabe, he says, as for me. I make the choice. As for me. So I can't go by society, because society won't make that choice to make God first. They will always look. And have you noticed, it's ironic that people will tell you what you ought to be doing as a Christian, and they ain't doing it themselves? I definitely don't look for a sinful society to tell me what sacred sacrifice is in serving God. Rewind, I'll say it again. I do not look for a sinful society to tell me or direct me of what a sacred sacrificial serving of God looks like. Because if it was up to them, he would be a part-time lover. You only need him when you need something from him. But when you're an intentional father, you say, as for me. I don't care what they doing. So I had to get it over to one of my precious daughters. I don't care what they do in that house. If this didn't sound bad, so bad, and we wasn't putting this out over social media, I would say something like, heavens with their house. With their house. Y'all know what I meant. I said, no, darling. What goes on in that house is not what go on in this house. I'm not going to allow what they do to direct us. So I saw here there has to be a personal choice. Everybody say a personal choice. That means you have to have the courage to go against society's menu for you, society's decision. You have to be able to say, no, you may, isn't it something that a father can get up and go to work every day but miss church once a week? You have to make a choice. Isn't it something that a father would scream and a man would scream and holler at a game, whatever game you like, they'd scream and holler, get all of the social things around them, but they won't do none of that at church? How can you be loud at a game and not loud at church? How can you contribute thousands of dollars to anything but don't do that for, all I'm simply saying, you got to make a choice. And your children notice it. Oh, yes. May I be a proud father? Can I be a proud father? I put into Deanna Raquel, Alexandra Bianca, Justine Gabrielle. I put into them, not only do you need to go to church, you need to support the church. So I had to make sure they saw an example. No. I ain't wearing the finest and God is raggedy. All right, how is that? All right, God's house. So I had to make choice. Everybody say make a choice. I had to go against culture. But there's a second thing I saw here as I move swiftly on, that there has to be a spiritual priority in the home. Because Joshua said, as for me and my house. Somebody's just missed it. Everybody say, as for me and the house. I can't say as for me and your house. I have the responsibility to say, as for me and my house. That's why everything and anything ain't going on in my house. Because I have that responsibility. I'm not against what everybody else does in their house because they're responsible for it. They pay the bills there. They do whatever they want to do. They say, they act out. But as for me and my house, the Bible says we're going to serve the Lord. Everybody say my house. Now your house, as for me, there has to be a spiritual responsibility to say, not only am I God conscious, but everybody in this house gonna be God conscious. My mother did that. Didn't have a father in the house, so my mother did that. She did two things. One is she kept us in church, where I saw men, where I saw men. Everybody say men. She kept us in church where I saw men. Didn't have one in the house, but she kept us in church where I saw men. Now I'm going to push y'all overboard. Now get ready. I was fortunate enough to be at a church that men praised God. I saw men lifting their hands. I heard men singing unto the Lord. I saw men, tears coming down their eyes. I was fortunate. I didn't go to church, and we all, ladies, y'all have the habit of rejoicing regardless. Y'all don't care what folk think. I saw one lady, her wig was about to come off. She was holding. All I'm simply saying is sisters have the tendency to say, I know who God is, and I don't care what other folk think. I had the privilege of seeing men. I remember Brother Vic, if my brother Ricky would testify of it. Brother Vic, a Hispanic gentleman that was there at the church at Bible Days Revival Church, 501 Quitman Street. This is how he shouted when we were there. This is how he shouted. That's all he did when we were dancing. He would pray. He was offbeat. I saw men saying, I'm not ashamed to give God glory. Brothers, if you want to be an intentional father, you need to be one to say, I'm not ashamed to glorify God. Don't look at me strange when I lift my hands. Don't look at me strange when everybody say intentional fatherhood. There has to be somebody to say, I'm going to worship God regardless. I saw as an example in my life, I had the privilege, Sister Petrie, my cousins, Nell and Bunny and Carolyn, they may not have liked me, but Mrs. Castle sent me over there. I saw someone that not only was a pastor of a church, but since I had the privilege of being in the house, I saw him live out what other folks saw. So at church, he didn't hold a Bible, and then at home, he cussing them out. That's intentional, because it don't mean Sister Peter didn't make it bad. It don't mean that they did everything right, but I saw his example as everybody say intentional fatherhood. No. Don't show me how you can pay the bill, but you won't worship God. They don't want to hear it, Brother Willis. I've got to be at the point, if I'm going to be intentional about this, the Bible gives us a prime example in Joshua, and there's so many others, but a prime example in Joshua when he says, as for me and my house. That means everybody under this roof that I'm responsible for, we're going to serve God. Now, there was another part when I saw that, because that means there has to be an active practice of service. Because you can't say, I'm going to serve God, but don't show God. All right, let me put it a different way. If you're going to serve God, your obedience, your allegiance has to be visible. Okay, everybody say visible. Because folk are watching you whether you think it or not. Your children are sisters. Can I bear witness? Have you ever seen a man that looked good from the eye until you really find out about him? And you say to yourself, thank God I didn't marry them. All right. Some of y'all say, Pastor, I did marry him. Because what you're going to have to show is I need to be an example of practicing serving God. I won't put nothing or nobody else or anything above God in my life. I'll say it again because they missed it, Brother Kemp. I won't put nothing or nobody above God in my life. So there's some things may be good, but ain't godly. So, Pastor, how can that be? What do you mean? Some things can be good and not godly. It's good for you to make sure the bills are paid, but you just making sure the bills are paid and letting your children run rapid, disrespectful at home, disrespectful at school, then want to be disrespectful to law enforcement, and then you want the law to say they were wrong for putting your child in check and you didn't even do it. You need to be a visible example. I got pulled over by a law enforcement person. I got pulled over by a law enforcement person. I got pulled over by a law enforcement person. And I didn't immediately show, you don't know who I am. Why you pulled me over? No, I'm not going to give you this. May I see your license? No problem. It's me. I mean, you got me here. I ain't got nothing. And so I want to be an example to my children, these grown adults, when they get pulled over. Yes, sir. What is it that you need, sir? Do you have, all right. Now, I know the protocol of what they're supposed to say and how they're supposed to do it. And I'm just checking it in my mind because I'm going to let them finish. And then I said, you may want to see this other one too. But the first thing that caught their attention was I showed respect to authority. I didn't say whether they were right or wrong. I said I showed respect to authority. If you don't show respect and show your children respect to authority yourself, don't get upset if they don't do it. There's sometimes the fight don't need to be fought right then. You just gather the evidence and all right. And so this person, I said, here you are, because you know I don't. They may say something like, "Is there a weapon in the car?" Yes, on purpose. Yes, I want you to know. Some of y'all missing it. Yes. One gentleman before I bust this bubble, he said, and I don't know what he was looking for. He said, "Is there a reason why your windows are tinted like that?" I said, "Yeah, I don't like the sun like that." Well, it looks like they are illegal. I said, "They are. They are. Here's the notice." Somebody said, y'all say, look at all y'all getting your religious rocks. You was riding. Yeah, I was. And so I had the paper that was signed off that said I could. That killed that one. All I'm simply saying is, but I showed them respect as a father. If you're going to be intentional, especially as a man of God, you need to learn how to show respect to folk that may not even feel like they deserve it. Show them respect. I remember getting pulled over. I'm using this respect for those. I remember getting pulled over by a person, and because one of my cars, it did look like I was riding dirty, but he pulled me over and he said, "Is there anything in the car that's illegal?" I said, "No, man. I'm hadn't showed him the other. Is there anything?" Everybody say intentional fatherhood. And I said, but feel free. You want to search it? I ain't got nothing to hide. Feel free. Knock yourself out, but now do it right. Do it right. Well, you know, if we had to, we would have the dogs to come. I said, you can bring Bobo, you can bring whoever, whatever you want to call him, bring them on, because I'm fine with it. I have nothing to hide. But I wanted him to know I'm not going to disrespect. Why you want to search my car? Is it a black or white thing? That's what's wrong with. No, I didn't go through all of that. I wanted to lead by example to my children that even if you are pulled over and you feel that it was not right, you still show respect to authority. All right, now I know y'all got quiet there, but what most people don't understand is if you let them get away with disrespect here, they'll at your house, they'll take it to school. If you let them get away with it there, they'll take it on the job. If you let them get away with it there, they'll take it to society. All right, Pastor, what do you mean? Are you serious? Yeah, take a real good look around. Don't take too much time going to YouTube and Snapchat and Facebook. You will find out some people have no respect for any authority. And then you want to scream they wrong and they doing it. It's a black thing. It's a what it is a disrespectful thing. Now, let me go further because I remember telling one of my daughters who shall remain nameless, the middle child, and I remember telling them once, you don't correct a grown up as a child. You come home and tell your daddy. And you don't have to worry about nothing after that. No, you don't tell him you wrong and let me tell you something and I'll put, no. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. I told them you should always respect your elders. And then get home and tell your daddy and your mama. You don't even have to worry. So they took it up on themselves, and I think it was one time that I had to address, because I went to some of those parent and teachers meetings, and I had to address one thing. And I said, if there's any time, first of all, that one of my daughters do something wrong, then you correct them and let them know that's wrong. I gave them permission, in particular in one of them, who shall remain nameless. I said, if it takes whooping, y'all, I know y'all didn't already. I said, if it takes that, then you have my permission to do it. Just make sure you do it right. But then I went further, and now I'm going to mess up. Mother Haggard, I said, but now don't do them wrong. Because the other side of the preacher that I crucify weekly. I'm starting to sweat off of that. You know what? Everybody say intentional fatherhood. So what I let my daughters know was you got to show respect. I was the example and I showed them respect. Let me get on with this and then I'm going to be through. The last part I said was you got to practice this. Everybody say practice. So don't expect your children to praise God on Sundays, but shake their butt on Mondays. Let me see. Don't expect your children to acknowledge who God is on Sundays, but then say, I do this because that's my truth all week long. No, be careful. Who was it? I don't know if that was my youngest daughter, Justine Gabrielle. She brought something to me, I think it was on Facebook or one of them, of a child. I think the child was about this big, and the child not only spoke back to her grandmother, but she hit her grandmother. Yeah, y'all saying the words, but is the air on in here? I'm being quiet for a reason. Not only did she talk back to her, this is a child, but she also came up and hit her. Everybody say intentional fatherhood. Get this, listen carefully. My daughter showed me this, and they had it on there, and the child's father was standing right there on his phone. I would have. You got to be careful what you say. I would have. Not only would that baby have gotten more attention than she thought, but that Nigerian man, when he woke up, my mother said something to myself and my brothers years ago. Everybody said intentional manhood, fatherhood. My mother said, if I have to put my foot on your neck and whoop you, I will. Get this. I was raised to respect her. I would have let her put her foot on my neck. If you're going to be an intentional father, there's some things you got to make a choice and show as an example that you will never get too old. I came up in the era with Marvin Gaye, and I was with Sister Beverly Burden one Sunday, and I forgot where we had went to a park or something when the news came over that Marvin Gaye was killed by his father. I remember that. That he was killed by his father. I thought to myself, what could he have done or said that drove his father to that point? Now, I would never think I would ever have to get to that point, but I will tell you this. I may get close to it because you will never disrespect your grandmother. I had this, and I'm through with it. Everybody said intentional fatherhood. Had this happen, and I was wrong, okay? I was wrong. Everybody say you were wrong. One of my daughters, I thought, disrespected my Aunt Cassie. I thought that. The stuff that I got, I was wrong. I didn't get all of it. I thought. I'm getting warm again. I thought. And I told them, you got to get the hell out of my house. Because if you ever think you're going to disrespect my aunt, I will, and you just take it from there. Remember, I did say I was wrong because I didn't get all of the things. But there was a lesson learned. I wanted them to know, don't ever get it in your mind, in your heart, in your mouth, that you can disrespect your elder, especially those that, whether you know it or not, provided for yourself before you even. And so, and I had to go back and apologize to them. And I told them I was wrong because I didn't get all of it. And I was mad with them at first. Brother Levy, I was mad. I was mad. She could tell you, I was mad. I checked on it. I'm just checking on you. But I was mad with it. All I'm simply saying is, but I had to be intentional, not only to go back and say I was wrong, but also to make sure it's understood this is a priority in my life. Don't ever expect for your children to respect others if you haven't taught them to respect you and those that are in their life. Joshua says something in Joshua 24, verse 14 and 15, and the last part that got me. He says, choose you not only this day who you will serve. He says you can serve the ones that's over there, the ones that you came out of Egypt. You can serve the one that's the land you in, the one that's around you now. He said, but as for me and my house, we're going to serve God. That's an intentional father. That's saying everything may not be great. You may not have all of the luxuries that somebody else has. But there is one thing you're going to have. You're going to have an example of a real father, that we're going to serve God. But my daughters, they would probably tell all of us that church is a priority to such a degree. I can almost say that it had gotten. When I'm on vacation, I'm still looking for the church. If I go a Sunday, I need to. All right, if I can't find one, believe me, it's gonna be on TV. Y'all done gave me a smartphone. I'm going to watch church because as for me and my house, I serve God. Your children need to see that. They need to see brothers It may not be your biological child. It may be your stepchild, your foster child, your grandchild, it may be any of those, but somebody's watching. They need to see I'm intentional on being a good father. Young man told me once, he said, I need you to know something. I'm saying, what's going on, brother? What's up? He said, I need you to know something. He said, I've been watching you. I would have never thought. He said, I want to tell you personally, thank you for setting an example of a man of God, of a husband, and of a father. I said, this guy's watching me? I would have never thought. I was saying, oh, Lord, I hope he didn't watch me in my failures too. He said, thank you. Everybody say thank you. If your father's alive, you need to make sure you're calling him today. May not be the best of, may have done a lot of things wrong, but you need to at least say Happy Father's Day. If your father is in heaven, then you need to tell God, thank you, not only for the father that I had in my lifetime doing that, but thank you for stepping in for where they are not. Lastly, if you never had a father, you still have a heavenly father that is an example for you and I in our life while you're standing to your feet.
Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity, one, to give your heart to God. It is vital, it's important, and I believe this word has taught you and has reached your heart. Simply say this prayer. Father, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he died and rose again for my salvation. And according to the scripture, when you say it in sincerity and believe it, you are saved. But then I want to encourage you to become a member of North Houston Church so that you can be encouraged, instructed, lifted, and there will be fellowship. You can do it in person or online. You belong here.